it's time for the Gianna Volpe Report, brought to you by Michelangelo's in the Mattatuck Plaza Shopping Center on the main road in Mattatuck, and by Maximus Health and Fitness, 130 East Main Street, Riverhead. Good morning, Gianna Volpe.
Good morning, Bruce, and happy October, everybody. We're bringing you an East End Entrepreneurs update. In the studio, we have Abra Morawiec. She is the proprietor of Feisty Acres, which is the second officially certified organic quail farm in the country. Good morning, Abra. I understand you just got your certification this last week.
Good morning. Yes, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me. I had my inspection this past Sunday, yes, and I should be receiving my certification in the mail within the month.
Oh my gosh! So what was it like? I mean, were you nervous as all get out?
Of course, I was a little nervous, but I made sure that I had all my paperwork in order. I made sure that all of my structures were in order and built up to organic specifications. There are space requirements set forth by NOFA NY, which is the Northeast Organic Farmers Association, and they're put in place to make sure that animals have adequate space to live out their lives and express their chickenness or their quailness, or if they're cattle or lambs, sheep and goats. They want to make sure that animals have access to the outdoors all the time. I'm a very transparent business person, so for the most part I wasn't very nervous, but I was still a little nervous. My inspector was very, very thorough and went through every ounce of paperwork, and he walked the grounds with me where I'm going to be pasturing my game birds. He came up into the brooder with me and checked the brooder to make sure that everybody had adequate living space. It makes me feel good to be certified by NOFA NY, to know that they are so thorough with the application and inspection process.
And what was the response to? I know you are the type of person where you always have your I's dotted, your T's crossed. What was the response of the inspector to your kind of organization, even in a startup?
Well, I learned from two of the very best, I think, there's a couple of farms out here that are certified by NOFA NY. Well, actually, there's a lot. And we're all very thorough in our paperwork because we want to be transparent. I learned from Chris Browder and Holly Browder at Browder's Birds how to keep all my livestock papers together. I've learned extensively from Phil Barbado on how to keep a day-to-day journal on my farm's working. So to put it very frankly, I learned from the very best. And my inspector actually had said that and was very impressed with the paperwork that I had available, and he was very happy that I had three really fantastic mentors. So my hat has to go off to my mentors for instilling in me those organizational values.
Let me ask you this just for a moment. Let me interrupt, Gianna. But how competitive is the whole organic agriculture thing?
Competitive in terms of, here on the east end of Long Island or countrywide?
Well, I mean, in terms of the east end of Long Island where we are. In other words, radio's a competitive business.
Sure.
There's one station I get along with really, really well.
Yeah.
The others, if they fell off the earth tomorrow, I don't know that I would really even notice.
Well, let me put it to you this way.
In fact, I don't even know that they still exist.
But Bruce, right, but...
That's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
Here, let me answer that. The community of organic farmers out here, Bruce, we all know one another. We're all very supportive of one another. And we live and work in a place where our market is so extensive. We live right smack in the dab between New York City and the Hamptons. And I really think that there's enough customer base and enough money to go around. So the competition between certified organic farms out here, I would say, is minimal. In fact, we really support one another. This coming 15th, Bruce, Gianna, you're definitely invited if you'd like to come. NOFA New York is hosting a barn dance at Hollickville from 6 to 10, and all of the organic farmers, we're all going to go there and meet up and catch up after a really long season. And I think that that's a true testament to how supportive organic farmers are of one another out here. I would say competition is probably just for fun, for the most part.
Oh, I love it. I'm totally going to be there.
Yeah.
Are you going to this barn? Are you going to go to this barn dance, Gianna?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to wear bib overalls? I mean, we got to play the whole thing up, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got some if you want some, Bruce. What size do you wear?
Fat and overweight, but that's me, and you are not. I couldn't. I don't think I could fit. I don't think I could fit my right leg into your overalls.
Oh, we can try, man. Don't worry about it.
Have to grease me.
Oh, gosh.
Talking about the competition. I mean, it's like that in a lot of industries on the East End because it's such a small community. We sort of all kind of come together.
Yeah, but the other part of it is, Gianna, because it is such a small community and such a small marketplace, it makes the competition that much more intense in some lines of work.
Sure. I mean, I've felt nothing but support from everybody out here. I'm very fortunate. I've had so many people underneath me lift me up to make this endeavor possible. So maybe we're an exception, Bruce.
That's probably it. Because I'm just trying to figure out, like, who gets along with who.
We all pretty much get along with one another. We really do. We all try to go visit one another's farms. We patronize one another's farms. If somebody, like at Biophilia, for example, if somebody's looking for certified organic corn, we only grow it for our CSA members, but Phil and I are very quick to say, go to Sang Lee Organic Farms up at Peconic. Garden of Eve also sells certified organic corn. Like I said, there's enough money, there's enough customers to go around. So I think that that's what's keeping the level of fierce competition down.
I mean, you don't mind my asking. I'm just that's the sort of stuff that makes me curious. And organic quail.
Yes.
I gotta ask you.
Yeah. Why?
Pardon me. This is like the line, the line in Casablanca, Gianna, of all the gin joints in all the world. Of all the things in all the world. Yeah. Organic quail.
Yes, sir. Organic quail. Well, let me preface this by saying that I did my market research. I worked extensively with growing out poultry for the 4 seasons that I've been out here on the East End, and there are lots of farms out here who are doing a really good job raising poultry. Browder's Birds, certified organic pasture raised. Shout out to Deep Roots Farm, owned by Tom and Bree Hart, and also Icona Farms down in the South Fork. There's already people doing that, and so what I wanted to do was I wanted to raise something that was going to be efficient here on Long Island. I wanted something that didn't take a lot of outputs, didn't take a lot of land, because land is expensive, as we all know. And I saw that quail, especially with restaurants, specialty food stores, is in actually very high demand. Most of the quail that's being raised for human consumption is raised indoors, in barns, and the only other certified organic farm raising quail is this operation in California called Belcampo, but they don't specialize in quail. They do a bunch of other meat products, beef, lamb, goat. So that was basically my thought was, wow, there's a lot of restaurants out here looking for good, high quality products, and nobody's supplying game birds. So I'm jumping into that niche head first.
Where is the now? I'm assuming here. You like why I've taken over your interview?
No, I don't like it. I'm all upset.
Well, good. I could tell. You really sound really unhinged. But that's okay. We got another whole 40 minutes to go. I could really freak you out. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Excuse me for a moment while I throw this across the room. There.
See, that wouldn't happen if Gianna was interviewing me.
No, it wouldn't. Because Gianna knows to shut the bell off. Anyway, and I'm technologically challenged.
Okay.
But I'm thinking here, most of the organic farming, I think, is primarily the North Fork.
Yes, there's a couple on the South Fork as well.
But I would imagine that the demand for, like the organic quail would be on the South Fork and the Hamptons, where all the high palaw
and in the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's interesting
and
about
in Manhattan.
Abra's system is that she wants, let's say you're a farm-to-table, South Fork chef, she wants the chef to work on the farm. What is it, 4 hours a month?
Yeah, ideally I would like 4 hours a month, either the chef themselves or perhaps a representative of the restaurant. I'm going to call it a trade exchange. I think it's very important, especially if I'm going to be raising and selling a specialty product. I want the folks who are going to be my customers to know exactly what goes into raising the birds that are ending up in their kitchens, to be prepared for their customers. And I think that the only way for this to happen is for us to trade exchange. And so I want them to come to my farm. I want them to work. They can perhaps volunteer on processing day. And in exchange, I would work for them. I could work in the kitchen for them, doing grunt work. I could even wash dishes for 4 hours a month for them, peel potatoes for 4 hours a month for them. I think it's very important for both ends to know how much work actually goes into raising the product, and then, of course, bringing the product to the customer, which is the restaurant's job. And I think that doing that, the chefs could really be allies for farmers. Chefs, in a way, are able to prepare our products as farmers and introduce them to the public on a much wider scale than, let's say, I could. And so that's why I think the trade exchange is very important.
Well, unfortunately...
And in a completely different way.
Yes.
This is the bird that ends up on the table is like, every single one is almost like an advertisement in itself. If you've ever had a quail at a restaurant, oh my gosh. I remember I used to have that was my favorite dish at Tweed's when I worked at Tweed's, was the quail. And so is there anyone that you're comfortable, who's getting this first batch?
Well...
Yeah, who's getting the first ones there, Abra?
No, I don't want to sound premature. But right. I have had a couple of restaurants already contact me. There's a lot of restaurants that I have told, I'm not going to be able to supply them with the numbers that they want until next season. There is a young man, his name is Brian Russell. He lives out in East Marion, and he is a chef at the Greenport Brewing Company.
Right.
And he's actually going to the Department of Health today to get his food truck inspected. And
great.
Yes. Yeah.
For Greenport.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And you're hearing it right here, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And when he worked at Italy, one of his specialty dishes was preparing quail in two ways. And he's young like me. He's his birthday was yesterday. He's like 31, I think, or 32. He's young, he's passionate, and he really would like my quail. And I hope that he's the first person that I work for. I would really like to have him have my first batch, and I'd really like him to do something special with it.
Well, unfortunately, Gianna, we're kind of grabbed by the clock.
We got to go back. We got to go to break.
We have to hit the break, hit the news, all that good stuff.
I have so much more to talk to Abra about. I wonder if we'll see if Dave wants to go next week or what's going on. If not, Abra, we got to have you back.
Okay, absolutely.
All right.
And how are we going to figure this one out logistically? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What,
amuse me.
As far as
well, are we going to tie this young woman into the chair and make her say that we know what we're doing?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Tie her down. We'll be right back.
Back on the Dawn Patrol, the Gianna Volpe Report, brought to you by Maximus Health and Fitness at 130 East Main Street, Riverhead. And Michelangelo's in Mattatuck Plaza Shopping Center, Route 25 in Mattatuck. I just said off the air that I am surrounded by estrogen today.
You should be so lucky.
Although Abra and I are not exactly the most girliest of girls, we could probably beat up most of the men out there.
We're girly when it counts.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I want to know anymore. I can see myself getting a fat lip as a result of this. I don't need it. it just wouldn't sound right. Anyway.
Well, we've got some added testosterone. Right
Yeah, I'm
now,
finally going to even up the score. I'm going to do this in a moment. I'm going to bring on Ed Tusio, who said he wanted to talk about Quail. And what do you know from Quail, Mr. Tusio?
Well, I have some expertise in the field.
Oh?
Tweeds has been serving quail every day for some years now. And I want to tell you, it is wonderful.
Yeah, did you hear earlier, Ed? I was talking about it.
Oh, yeah, I heard you talking about quail. And,
no, I said that was my favorite dish at Tweeds.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you missed it. And actually,
no,
Abra...
but it's true. It's a wonderful thing. I would recommend other restaurants to think about serving quail.
That's all the publicity I need.
But now let me ask you this, Ed.
Maybe a little champagne in front of the fireplace, and with some girly girls like Gianna.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Ed, Abra and I met at Tweeds when I was tending bar.
Oh, really?
That's correct, yes.
Well,
she was sitting in your chair.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you mean that you sat on the stool on the end of the bar?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's like that. Remember Archie Bunker's television chair in the living room? It's the same thing. It's the same. I'm telling you, Abra is the same thing.
I just have to say that Tweeds is one of my favorite restaurants here in Riverhead. My boyfriend and I really like going there. The service has always been fantastic, and whenever we have guests come in to visit us here on the East End, we always tell them that you have rooms available upstairs because they're beautiful and they're reasonably priced.
It's a hotel.
We have the Bruce Tria room, a very special room.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, right.
Besides the listening devices and cameras, it has...
And I know this is a little bit off topic.
Are you playing on my paranoia there, Tusio?
Of course.
I remember you getting your DNA done, Ed. What kind of Jewish are you?
I'm an Ashkenazi Jew.
What?
Ashkenazi.
An Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi.
Which translates to?
Sephardic Jew. We're Northern European.
Yeah, that would be me as well. My Jewish part of the family is from Poland.
Of course, there's a lot of other bloods in there. Although I always thought I had more Italian than anything else, but that's not the case. Coming from Southern Italian, if Bruce Tria did a DNA on himself, he'd jump out of his shoes.
Oh my God!
I don't think I want to know.
I want to know so bad.
Although I will say this, Ed. I used to always say on the air that I was Martin Block's illegitimate son.
Oh gosh.
And my father, you know my father, was like, why do you always say that?
Okay, I have to interrupt everybody for a quick second.
Why, we're supposed to be talking about something like
we're supposed to be talking about Quail. So,
which is what I want to know, Abra.
Yeah.
Have you put the two batches together? Because Abra has, I guess, around 130.
110. I have 110.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened. You ran into a little bit of bad luck right off the bat there, because your first batch of Caternix quail, I guess it was 120, they were getting shipped from Oklahoma, and apparently someone at the post office did not put the box on the plane that says live chicks, live chicks, live chicks, live chicks. Now these were day-old birds. They ended up not arriving for 3 days, and only 14, was it, survived of that 120?
Correct, 14.
And Abra was just, so upset
Yes.
over this, understandably, and you've since gotten another batch, and I know you had them in separate brooders, so I wanted to know if you put them together, if there's, or just your take on that whole situation.
Yes. All right, well, before I get into that, if Ed Tuccio is still on the line.
And he is.
I would like to formally invite you.
Oh, no, he's not on the line.
Oh. Well, if he's listening, Ed Tuccio, if you're listening, I would like to formally invite you to come see my operation, Feisty Acres. I'd love for you to see how my quail are raised. They're going to be raised on pasture from age 4 weeks until, they meet their day. And I'm sure Phil Barbato would love to see you as well. So there's that. Getting back, though, to the whole... my first batch of chicks being very late. I would like to say that this is not a super common occurrence. When I had contacted the breeder, telling her that I was watching my tracking number for this package and that it hadn't moved from Oklahoma City in about 2 days. She's very good. She immediately contacted the post office. I contacted the post office. We were just trying to scramble and figure out how to get them here. To make a long story short, only 14 of that first batch survived. So this is really going to push me towards breeding my own quail. I really want to hatch my own in an incubator. I don't want the stress of them traveling through the post office. A lot of people don't know this, but the United States Postal Service is the only carrier that takes live animals. And usually they do a pretty good job. But in this case, I had a really bad string of bad luck my first week. My freezer broke, my chicks came late. But I am happy to say that my second batch of chicks arrived within 24 hours, not a problem. The Riverhead post office was fantastic and called me as soon as they arrived, and I went and I picked them up. And I'm happy to say that the second batch is thriving and doing well and growing so fast, and they're lively and energetic, and it's fantastic. I haven't yet integrated the 2 flocks. I will probably integrate the 2 of them next week when my second batch is a little bit bigger.
Now, are they territorial or I know they're possessive, or at least one of yours is possessive. What a cute little video, Gianna. You had to see it.
Yeah.
This one little guy is...
This morning.
All right, this one little guy is like hanging on to the food like for dear, and he's like, and then finally at the end he goes off into a little corner. It's like, get away!
Yeah. Well, I started feeding my quail vegetable scraps from Biophilia. It's kind of a nice dietary supplement for them besides their organic feed. They aren't super territorial if you give them adequate space to live in, and if they have enough food and water to go around, there should not be any aggression problems. And if there are aggression problems, as a farmer, you need to make sure that you nip that in the bud, either by separating out the aggressor or culling the aggressor. But so far, because they have more than enough space to run around and do their thing, I haven't had any aggression problems. And that's another reason why I want to wait for the second batch of quail to get bigger, so that, they are of comparable size to the first flock. Right. And that shouldn't be too much longer.
Because in the beginning, that first batch, they, first of all, what a strong group.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, they were going out, they were day-old chicks. It took them a while to get their strength back up,
It did, yes.
And it was so funny, just the difference seeing the first group versus the second group when they arrived.
Yeah.
These first guys, they had it, they went through the mill a little bit.
Yeah.
They really needed to, you were talking about how it's about the fat above the kidneys.
Correct, yes.
And
that's their energy source for the first day. They would get over to the
water and sip, and then they would need to take a rest.
Yeah.
And hop back over the food and eat a little bit and need to take a rest.
Well, those 14, I am going to I'm actually going to start weighing them at around 4 weeks of age. The biggest and the fattest ones, and the ones that exhibit the traits that I would like to perpetuate in my own flock, I'm going to start weighing them on a weekly basis. I'm going to band the ones that I want to keep for breeding. As farmers, we don't have a lot of control over things. We don't have control over the post office. We don't have control over the weather. So if me as a farmer, can control one other element of my business, I think I'll be much better off. So that's why this breeding program is going to be so instrumental in the success of Feisty Acres, because I'm going to be breeding quail that thrive in this environment here on the east end of Long Island.
Well, I hate to give the bear a bad...
I just want to know real quick, are you going to be breeding Blondie? I'm sure.
Yeah, I found out that Blondie is a Texas A&M breed, and absolutely. Texas A&Ms were bred down in, Texas A&M University for 15 years, and they have very good body structure for meat production.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So is it time to go, Bruce?
We are finished.
Okay, we're done. We're done, Abra.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on and sharing the scoop with us.
Yeah, no worries.